What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Sanji back at it with another video. We're talking Raiders, man. It's Saturday night, the night before the official game. Maybe the biggest game of the Raiders season, to be honest, you guys. Like there's a possibility, right? It's Saturday, man. I did not expect to go live today, but um I had some time today, man, and I scheduled it earlier and I almost canceled because I don't feel well, feel kind of sick, but I wanted to go live, man, and just kind of talk with you guys here. Shout out to all you guys that are already here. I see a lot of you guys' comments already. We're gonna get into everything that you guys want to talk about. Just leave your guys' comments below, man. Leave your guys' comments below. We're gonna talk Raiders. We're gonna really get into it. Um, I hope you guys can hear me. But I'm sure you guys can. I have my microphone turned up, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Um, let's get into this, man. I hope you guys are all doing good. Saturday night, college football today. I know a lot of you guys watch college football. Uh, I'm not huge into it, but it's a good day today because the Sacramento Kings won too. As you guys know, I'm a Kings fan, so we got our first win of the season. So it's a good day, man. Plus, it's football, man. Football's right around the corner. One more night, we're all gonna pass out tonight, go to sleep, or no wake up and get a full day of football, man. Sundays are truly the best days of the week. It's crazy because when I was young, I used to hate Sundays, right? Because on Monday you had school, so I used to absolutely hate Sundays. But now they're the best days of the week, right? Because you get football. Honestly, Thursday, it starts Thursday, right? I got Thursday night and then Friday, depending on if you guys watch high school football or not. Saturday, you got college, and then Sunday, you got NFL football, and even Monday, right? Monday as well. So let's get into this, man. Shout out to you, 808 Raider. Big shout out to you. The first comment said, so what's the more logical scenario? Graham adjusts the defensive scheme to fit the player's skill set, or do the players need to adjust their style of play to fit in Graham's system? Something needs to change. I think it has to be a little bit of both. Absolutely has to be a little bit of both. But, from last year to wherever Graham ends up, when Graham at some point is going to have a top 15 defense, right? He's going to do it. He just needs to get his guys. He needs to get his system, his guys that fit that system. When that happens, compared to last year, the defense will be much different. And we're already pretty different, right? We already got guys like Jane Brown, Rocky Sin has come in, Daron Harmon, Chandler Jones. All our defensive tackles are basically different, except for Kendall Vickers. Vickers like the one guy that's been around for like 3-4 years at this point. I don't know how that guy keeps sticking around. He's definitely a good player. Don't get me wrong, but going from scheme to scheme to scheme, surprise he kind of sticks around. I think the more logical scenario is that Graham is going to get new players to fit his scheme. Our defense sucks, and there's no excuses for it. I always make the excuse for the defense, which is we don't have the investments on the defensive side. But just being 100% honest, the defense sucks. There's no excuses for it. Our defense has sucked for the last 20 years, and it's continued to suck. And I shouldn't say it sucked every year for the last 20 years. We had some good defenses in the early, 2008, 2010, around that time. But generally speaking, for the last how many every years, the defense has sucked. Something has to fix it, right? I think Patrick Graham's the guy to do it. All right, I really do. Shout out to you, 808. Shout out to you, 559. Tone. Shout out to you, said go Raiders. I got a couple other comments. Robert Deckers made a comment about PFF. I'm not a PFF guy. If you guys know me, right, one thing that I do not like is PFF, man. I don't think those guys do a good job. I get it. It's the first stat source that's like widely available to people, and they do their grades. But if you guys don't know this, you guys can search it. Go to Google, go to Internet Explorer, go to whatever web browser you guys use. Put in the word PFF Quinnen Williams, and you guys will read an entire story about how the New York Jets fans made a big ass deal like 2 weeks back that PFF gave Quinnen Williams a super low grade. So PFF went back and they changed that grade, right? And they admitted to it that they made a mistake. Here's the thing. The Jets fans making a big ass deal out of it forced PFF to change their grade. How many times have they not change their grade because no one cared to make a big deal out of it. How many times has Andre James or Dylan Parham or Colton Miller done a good job and PFF doesn't give them that grade, right? That we may expect, right? But you said PFF shows that we are at negative 54% O line slash D line against the Saints. God pray for me. I have Jacobs on DraftKings. I think Josh Jacobs may not have a good game. I hate to say it because he's been on a streak, and if he gets 150 yards this game, he's won. I think there's four players. I think it's like LT. Um, uh, who else was it? Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson, and I forget who the fourth guy is. But Josh Jacobs will be the fifth guy to have four straight games of 150 scrimmage yards out of a running back. Um, that's a pretty solid stat, man. He may be able to break that this week if he's able to get 150 scrimmage yards. I do think that the Saints are going to absolutely try to limit Josh Jacobs. I think the Saints are going to be 100% after him, and they're not going to let him get going. I think they're going to stack the crap out of the box. Shout out to you, Robert and Gabriel, for confirming that you guys could hear me. Shout out to you, Nick. We absolutely need to win, man. This game's such a massive game for the Raiders. This game right here, man, this game sets our season forward or basically ruins our season. And it's crazy because the Saints are a good football club, man. The Saints thought they had, aspirations to make the playoffs and compete for a Super Bowl. And that's not what it looks like right now, right? Obviously, they have some injuries, as do the Raiders, right? But they have some injuries. Two of their main receivers are banged up. Although I think Chris Olave is the best wide receiver for the Saints. The Raiders got to figure it out, man. They got to shut him down. He's the real freaking deal. Rookie wide receiver, Chris Olave. I think he's going to ascend into a top 10 wide receiver by the time this year comes to an end. I think he is the best rookie wide receiver. I think he's the best receiver for them. Obviously, not having Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry for the Saints is going to be a huge disadvantage for them because the Raiders secondary sucks, right? The defense sucks, but the secondary sucks as well, right? The entire defense sucks. But our secondary can't get a stop for anything. I mean, we made Davis Mills look like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in their prime, right? I don't know what the hell's gonna happen tomorrow with Andy Dalton. If we made Davis Mills look as good as he did, the defense better figure it out this week. Shout out to you, Big Cat. I should read Miguel's comment. He said 0 turnovers from our offense, special teams, and we come out with the win. That is fact. If our offense and special teams don't fumble the football and our defense can get at least one turnover, I think we win this game. But I don't know if that's going to happen, right? I do think I think what's going to end up happening in terms of the game script this week is I do think the Saints are going to put up points. The Saints with Andy Dalton average like 37 points a game, or maybe it's 33. But with Andy Dalton, they average over 30 points a game. The Raiders have scored 31 points as the high from the offensive side, right? Which was this past week. Of course, we had 7 points off of the turnover. But besides the 31 points we scored last week, that was the worst team in the NFL too. We haven't scored 30 points. Andy Dalton averages over 30 points. So I think the script of this game is going to be the Saints may get up early and the Raiders are going to be playing catch up. And I think because of that could also impact Josh Jacobs' numbers. Although I think he could have a big game in the passing game. We'll see what ends up happening. Shout out to you, Big Cat. Big appreciations to you and all the other people that have tuned in. It's Saturday night, 7:09. I know a lot of you guys could be doing so many cooler things, so many better things than being live here with me. I don't feel well either, man. I'll be up front and honest with you guys. So I don't know how long we're gonna go here for, but shout out to you, Gray Bro. I appreciate this comment, man. You guys know, man, this channel has taken over a lot of my life, man. I every day I get up and I think to myself, what am I gonna make today? Am I gonna do a film breakdown? Am I gonna talk about the Raiders, some news? And I post pretty much every day. So shout out to you for the comment. It really does mean a lot. I really do put my life into this, man. So a big shout out to you. Joe, shout out to you. Said what's good. RK Raider Way said, what up, nation? Young Nick said, what if we kept Mariota over Carr? What you think our offense will look like? I'll be the first to tell you guys. I wanted Marcus Mariota to play for the Raiders, but after watching Mariota with the Falcons, I don't think Mariota is the guy. And if you guys have watched this channel like continuously for the last like 3 years, you guys know I've been very critical of Derek Carr. Even today, I would still say let's go out and get a top. Let's trade up into the draft, trade up in the top 6, 7 picks. Let's take one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks. I would still go forward with that. But if you're comparing Marcus Mariota to Derek Carr, there's no question Derek Carr is the better quarterback. If you guys like film breakdowns, Brett Coleman, good friend of mine, posted a Kyle Pitts video earlier this morning. Great video. And in that video, you'll see some of the issues with Kyle Pitts. And one of those issues, and Brett points it out, is Marcus Mariota just kind of sucks, right? And he doesn't say it in that aspect, but you can see with Marcus Mariota's throws, right? Like he just can't read things correctly, and he sucks, right? And I'm not saying he would suck for the Raiders as well, right? Obviously, Mariota brings a different type of skill set. He can make plays that Carr may not be able to make, but he can also not make throws that Carr can make, right? Plus, I think the Falcons have a really good defense in terms of forcing fumbles, forcing interceptions, forcing turnovers in general. I think that's helped the Falcons get their 3 wins. I think they're 3-4. And they're almost tied for first place. So shout out to Marcus Mariota, man. I still root for the guy. He's a good player, and I hope he has success, going forward. But RK says, always like your content, bro. Good stuff. Your breakdowns are always good. Much appreciated. People may not realize this. I try, man. If you guys watch my breakdowns from 4+ years ago, even 2+ years ago, I didn't put the same effort into those breakdowns as I do today, nor did I have the same knowledge at that time as I have today. About a year and a half ago, I went to scouting to a scouting academy where you pick what you want to learn, right? O-line, D-line, linebackers, quarterbacks, whatever you want to learn. And they teach it to you, former general managers, coaches, former NFL players, and you ask questions and you go back and forth and you learn the position. I decided to do offensive line, defensive line, and linebackers. So I have a much better understanding of that position group. And that was primarily because I wanted to make film breakdowns, but I don't want to just talk, right? Like you guys can go and watch some of the guys that make film breakdowns, not just Raiders only, but generally speaking. And you can tell when a guy just says things like, oh, look at this play, and look at this lineman, he does a good job, and look at this, and he did a good job, versus someone that can tell you, hey, this guy reached and he set vertically, or he did this and he jump set and he did this. Or a defensive lineman is in a 2-eye technique or a 3 technique. There's a defensive line game. You can just tell when some guys may have a higher knowledge of film, right? And I take that personal, right? Like for me, I went out and I wanted to learn. I wanted to get better, right? So for me, I spent the money. It was like $1,500, right, to kind of do that school. So for me, it was worth it, and it's because I'm super passionate about football and, of course, the breakdowns and stuff like that. In fact, I literally opened a second channel for that reason. I know I'm super off topic, but Saturday night chat, right? We're gonna get into all these different things, but one of the things I wanted to do is with this Raiders channel is do more film breakdowns. But I've noticed that because in 15 videos that I may post over 2 weeks, one's a film breakdown, it ends up getting less views than all my other videos. And I don't know why that is, because on my second channel, I do a film breakdown, I get 30,000 views. I'll do a breakdown on the Cowboys or the Eagles or the Giants, and they'll hit 30,000 views. Some hit 50,000. And the Raiders stuff hits like $6,000, $7,000, right? And it's almost not worth it. But I understand, like, from for the perspective of people that are subscribed to this channel. I know a lot of you guys actually like film breakdowns. That's why I still continue to do them. And do know a lot of them do get demonetized, which kind of sucks. But it is what it is. Will Dunn said, that's funny because I was going to say the same thing. It needs to be both. Absolutely, man. Totally agree with you. Shout out to you. Robert says, Sanjeet, there any updates on Daron Payne coming over to the Raiders? I think the deadline's on Monday or Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday, which is the 1st. And I think, like, it's at 1 Eastern, or maybe it's at 4 Eastern. I feel like the hour leading up to it is when Payne's going to get traded, if he's going to get traded. I don't think he's going to be a Raider, to be honest, guys, because I don't know if the Raiders have the cap space, and I don't think they want to make an investment into a guy without knowing they're going to be able to lock him up. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see, obviously, what happens. Let's get into some more of these comments here. Sean Geelan said, Benjamin just ran all over the Saints. Josh Jacobs will be fine. Carr should be able to have success on the outside as well. I did watch that game. I think it was the Thursday night football game. And I did see Benjamin score a couple of touchdowns. I don't know his statistics exactly, although I did break down the Cardinals offensive line for my second channel. And I do think that the Saints defensive line did not look very good. And I do think the Raiders can have success as well. Let's get into some of these super chats. Shout out to all of you guys. Robert said, keep up the great work, putting out the great talk, and Info Sanjeet. Shout out to you, man. I really, really, really appreciate that. You guys know this, man. I put out as much content as I can. Sometimes I got to take a step back. Recently, actually, just my cousin was getting married. I took like a 4-day break. I don't think anyone noticed, but I took like a 4-day break, and I felt weird because for 4 days I didn't put out content, right? So I don't know. I guess it's just a part of me at this time, right? But shout out to you. I really, really appreciate it. Shout out to you, Mally Mal, as well, for the $20 super chat. I made you a admin, so I don't know if you can see it or if it looks different for you, but your comments should look different. For me, I'm using the StreamYard platform, so it doesn't really look much different for me. But you should be able to block people and stuff like that. So let's get into some more of these comments, man. I always appreciate all of you guys' comments, especially for those of you guys that are tuning in on Saturday at 7:17. So many better things to do. Let's get into Will said Jacobs has to have a great game. I have him in both my fantasy leagues. I have him in one of my fantasy leagues as well. One of my 2 fantasy leagues. I unfortunately didn't get him in the other league because it was a auction league. I don't know if you've ever done an auction league or if any of you guys have ever done a fantasy football auction league, but you spend money to draft the guy, right? So I think he went kind of higher. I may not have had money to get him, but I see a lot of you guys' comments. And City said, should the Raiders draft Clemson's quarterback, DJ, and let him sit behind Carr to develop? That's a good question. It's hard to say. Here's the one thing with Derek Carr's contract, right? The Raiders could get out of it after this year and only lose $5 million. But if they don't get out of it and they keep Derek Carr for next year, his contract becomes guaranteed over the next 3 or 4 years. And at that point, we'd owe him a bunch of dead caps. So if you're going to draft the quarterback, he's going to have to play year one. But I don't know if Josh McDaniels is going to do that. I think Derek Carr has been playing pretty solid. I do think that Josh McDaniels' scheme helps quarterbacks. I know some people may go against that, right? Some people may say he hasn't been all that great, but understand what I'm saying, right? Josh McDaniels helps quarterbacks, right? I'm not saying he's a great play caller or a great play designer, but he helps quarterbacks. And I think for Derek Carr, this is going to benefit him a lot. I don't know if the Raiders should draft a quarterback, right? Ultimately, if it was up to me, I would, right? And that's not anything against Derek Carr. I just think the Raiders need to fix their defense. And with minimal cap space, you can't fix your defense, right? Basically, the $40 million you're going to give to Carr, you're going to invest that on the defensive side. You get like 3 superstar players with that, or at least 2 superstar players with that, right? But I don't know if Clemson's quarterback's the guy. I have not watched his tape. In fact, to be 100% honest, you guys, I don't watch quarterbacks in that aspect. I just literally started learning about quarterback play in the fine-tuned, detailed stuff, right? So many small things that you don't think about when you start like observing and analyzing. And if you guys want to learn about quarterback play, there's NFL on YouTube has put out these film sessions, right? If you put in NFL film session on YouTube, they'll come up. They're like the videos that Kurt Warner and I think Baldy used to do, right? They don't do them anymore, but they did them for like 4 years where they had like linebackers and offense linemen, and they've had quarterbacks on, a couple of different quarterbacks. And those quarterbacks go through like simple little things. Or the quarterbacks was another one that he does a really good job at putting out content around quarterbacks. But just kind of learning more about quarterbacks. I think Derek Carr could win, right? I think there's a chance you can win with Derek Carr, but I think one of the things the Raiders may have messed up on is paying Hunter Renfrow and Devontae Adams the $30 million a year could end up being a mistake, because for $30 million a year, you could have went out and got TJ Watt. And how much better would our defense be if we had TJ Watt and Max Crosby? And if it's not TJ Watt, maybe you get Jesse Bates and pay him $15 million or $16 million. And then you get another cornerback. That's actually good that you paid that other $15 million to, right? I think the Raiders got to fix their defense, right? For Derek Carr to have success, the Raiders got to fix their defense. And it's hard to say, should we get a rookie or should we do this, because there's so many ways you can go forward. And I think the Raiders have already decided that they're going to have a top tier offense, right? And do you really want to go get a quarterback? You could say that maybe that's why they got these weapons, is to support a rookie quarterback, because the last thing you want to do is have a rookie quarterback and have absolutely shitty weapons. Look at Mac Jones as an example. On the other end, you look at Tua, right? Tua, I don't think there's a big difference between Tua and Mac Jones, but Tua has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and Mac Jones has Nelson Aguilar and Devontae Parker, right? So I think, I don't know. There's a lot the Raiders can do, but there's a lot of good comments from a lot of you guys. Shout out to you, man. I really appreciate it. You are right, Knock. There was a time when I first created the channel. That was the name of my channel. So shout out to you for that, man. That was a long, long time ago. That was actually a completely different channel too. I don't know if you guys remember. Some of you guys may remember this. I had an initial channel. That channel got demonetized in full, right? Like the NFL, every other video was demonetizing my video. So I created a brand new channel, which is the one you guys are on now. I actually had 15,000 subscribers on a different channel, and then I had to restart. It took me a year and a half, 2 years to get back to that 15,000. Which kind of sucked, but here we are today. We're at 35,000. But this channel isn't really, I don't really care about the growth of this channel, to be honest, you guys. You can have 100,000 subscribers. Like just an example, there's a guy that I watch him sometimes. His name is Jackson Kruger Sports. He has 100 and I think like 20,000 subscribers. And, on his videos, he gets like 2,000 views, right? Versus on my channel, I have 35,000 and I get like around 10,000. All right. So I don't really care about the subscribers or like the growth. None of that really matters to me. Just constant viewers, and that too, like good content and comments, right? Comments is a big deal to me. If I make a video and I talk about something and there's like 20 comments, I will not make that type of video again. Versus if I make a video and it has 200 comments and people are interacting and I can actually read what you guys are saying, those are the type of videos that I would be making, right? Will said, of all the content makers I follow, you're the only one I support. You're the only one who studies and understands what is happening and not just supporting what others have reported. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate it. A lot of people don't know this. When I earlier in the video, I said I love what I do, right? People don't realize this. Like I reach out to the players, to the Raiders players. Some of them speak back, right? Some of them completely ignore me. Some of them even have me blocked. Derek Carr has me blocked. I don't know if you guys know this. On Instagram, he's blocked me. Nothing that I did to him. I think someone started tagging him in all my posts, so he ended up blocking me. But I take this seriously, man. I reach out to players. They'll tell me stuff, and I'll ask them if it's cool if I repeat things. Sometimes they'll say, they prefer me not to. Sometimes they're saying it's cool, go ahead. I try not to just, use what the mass narrative is out there, what the mass people are saying. And I'll give you guys an example. This offensive line, like I remember after week 1, everyone was saying, fire Josh McDaniels, fire this guy and get rid of this guy and go get this guy. And not only did I watch the tape, but I talked to some of the offense linemen, and they're like, bro, our offense line's good. It's just a matter of time until it clicks. And You take that, you watch the tape as well, you put those two things together, and you can make your own judgment that the offense line is going to be good. Week two comes around. I think Derek Carr got sacked a couple times. He got pressured a couple times, but the O-line was looking good. My point is look at where the O-line's at today, right? People aren't making that excuse or saying that the offense line sucks, right? People are saying this offense line's an asset for the Raiders now, right? But I do appreciate the comment, Will. I really, really, really do. Javier said this channel has come so far. Remember watching you discuss post game on Monday while you were on your way to work or in your car? Yeah, that was a long time ago. Max Crosby actually told me this too in a video, and I think I told this story before, but he said he told me that he watched one of my videos while I was in my car, and I said in that video that I don't think Max Crosby is going to start for the Raiders. This was before his rookie year, and he goes, I remember that you made that statement, and and he pointed it out to me, right? And he kind of threw it into my face, but in a nice way, right? Max Crosby's a really, really solid guy, but I do appreciate that. I've been through a lot of different phases with this channel. When I first started, that was a long time ago. I created a second channel. Then I made videos in my car when I moved from the Sacramento area to the San Francisco area. I made videos in my car. Been working from home for like 3 years at this point. So now I get to make videos from my actual home studio. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I've been through a lot of different phases, right? So Dreaded Ones just had to check in with the best Raiders content creator. Shout out to you, man. I really, 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 really appreciate that, man. For reals. We're gonna get into some Saints talk, man. We're not gonna just stay down this path. Moose said your film breakdowns are really good. It really sucks not being able to get the views you deserve for it. It's good content. I appreciate that, man. I really, really do. And I understand the film breakdowns. I don't care, man. I don't care about the views. That does not matter with those, because for me, it's the value, right? For example, the Thayer Munford video, right? 32-ish minutes around there. Maybe it was longer than that. I knew that I got to break down every single play because it's what people most likely want to see. No one wants to see a video on, Colton Miller, right? We know what Colton Miller is. No one cares about Max Crosby because we know what these guys are, right? And that's what all the big analysts already break down, right? But how many people break down Thayer Munford, right? And I think that those kind of things are cool to do. So it's definitely why I want to do it. Antonio said, Sanji, happy Saturday, brother. Happy Saturday to you too, bro. I appreciate that. I have been very critical of Derek Carr, but we have to roll with the punches and pull together as a team on both sides of the ball. That is fact. The offense has not been doing that. They haven't been doing a bad job at all, right? Like, I know some people are saying we kick too many field goals. And that is true, right? We do kick a lot of field goals, but this past week we did not kick a lot of field goals. We scored points. We scored touchdowns, and we won. We won by a lot, right? But we're still the number 3 offense, right? And if you take away the pick sixes, we're still like I think the 6th or 7th best offense. The defense has to step the hell up. I think this is going to be the week that they're not going to step up. I don't know. Something tells me that this is going to be the week that we're really going to suck on defense. But I do think going forward, we are going to get better. Nate Hobbs should be back. I think this is the 3rd game he's going to have missed, and maybe that's wrong. Maybe this is the 2nd game he's about to miss. So Nate Hobbs will be back soon too, right? So I think once Hobbs comes back, I think our defense should trend upwards because Anthony Averett is back, right? And I think that's a big one. He didn't look great last week, but he had missed the first 6 games, right? So him coming back, I think is going to benefit the Raiders as he kind of gets more, used to the game speed and stuff like that. And I apologize, man. I don't feel good. My throat hurts. So you guys may hear my voice going out here. What's going on 6? Shout out to you, bro. Always appreciate you. LG, shout out to you for the $4 super chat. I don't know if that's CA stands for Canada. I'm going to assume that's what it means. Shout out to you, though, man. Aunt 6 Soldier said, any trade rumors? Trade rumors are very tricky because unless it's Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or Dov Kleeman or one of these, guys that actually has inside information, I don't think it's legit. There's Raiders beat writers. There's some people on social media. I don't think any of those guys actually are legit in their when they say there's trade rumors and stuff like that. No offense to any of those guys. All right. But why would Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler leak anything to any of, like the guys like me, like these, like Josh McDaniels would never say, "Hey, Sanji, let me tell you who we're about to trade for." Right? That doesn't make sense. It only makes sense if they're trading someone away. Maybe they'll let Adam Schefter know. Go ahead and tweet it out that this guy's available if someone wants him. Right? Jonathan Abrams, the guy that we've heard about, Cleveland Farrell. And I think Jonathan Abram more so than Cleveland Farrell. I think that's more so that the team has kind of told these guys, "Hey, go ahead and put it out there." I haven't heard any trade rumors at all, other than the fact that we're going to trade away potentially Jonathan Abram. But in terms of the Raiders actually getting a guy, I don't think it's going to happen. I'd be very surprised. Now, the Jonathan Hankins thing, I was not surprised about the Jonathan Hankins thing. Some people have been talking about it, that Jonathan Hankins is going to get traded away. Jonathan Hankins is a really solid dude. I know some people don't like him because, people like other players. People like Raiders players based off of if they're good or not at the time that something happens to them. I think Jonathan Hankins had done a lot of good things, but shout out to Jonathan Hankins. If you guys could, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could hit that thumbs up. Yusuf said, haha, I noticed that 4-day break. I love your film breakdowns, man. I wish you would post more on Raiders specifically. I appreciate that, man. I really, really, really do. Shout out to you, Digital Press. Big shout out to you, man. Your thumbnails, man, they're on point. You're doing a good job with that, man. So shout out to you. Stevie said, what is Waller's status? Darren Waller should play, man. Darren Waller is supposed to play. Funny thing, I don't know why the hell someone did this, but someone dropped them in my fantasy league. So I had I don't even know who my tight end was. My tight end sucks. So I got Darren Waller for free. And Darren Waller is going to come back, man. I think he's finally getting healthy. I think he had some hamstring issues. A lot of people don't think about this. Darren Waller taking a break, having that one game actually benefits him a lot. Darren Waller's been banged up this entire season. Darren Waller's played with a hurt hamstring the entire season. And I think Darren Waller basically having rest for a game is going to benefit him because he's going to be 100% healthy. Don't be surprised if Darren Waller goes for 100 yards tomorrow and a touchdown, right? And actually has a really big game. I think this is going to be the time, man. Shout out to you, Ben. I really, really, really appreciate it. I apologize, man. I know for you guys on the East Coast and Central Time, I think is an hour forward. It's 7:33 for me, so I know it's 10:33 for all of you guys right now. I apologize, man. I know that sucks for you guys on that side. But I do appreciate you guys tuning in, right? I do appreciate it for reals. Will said, I know it doesn't happen anymore, but sitting a quarterback for a few years used to be the way it happened. Look at how long Stabler rode the pine and how that turned out. That's a good point, man. There are a couple quarterbacks that are sitting right now, right? I know Jordan Love is the one that everyone kind of knows about. But even Kyle Trask for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he was a second round pick. I think he was like the 33rd-ish pick, or I think he was a high second round pick. Don't call me. I know for a fact he was a second round pick. He's the Buccaneers backup quarterback. So he's been sitting. I think that guy has a lot of potential. If you guys watched him in preseason, I think Tom Brady had retired at that point still, but I do think the Raiders should consider drafting a quarterback. You look at Bailey Zappi for the Patriots. The guy looks really good, and I know he threw 2 interceptions, and that kind of shut down the entire talk of him and Mac Jones. I think he's better than Mac Jones, and I know it sucks because for Mac Jones they took him with the 15th overall pick, but the Patriots do it right. If a player is better, it doesn't matter where he's drafted. You start the better player, right? I almost feel like that's one of the things that a lot of teams make in terms of a mistake. Let the better player play, right? Let him play. And I know right now it may make sense just to keep Mac Jones in, let him have this season, see how how the rest of the season goes. But Bailey Zappi, you got something real in that guy, man. He looks good at times. Steve says to draft a linebacker in the first round. I do think the Raiders need to draft a linebacker in the first round. Who was the last linebacker we drafted in the first round? I can't even remember. Was it? I don't think Kirk Morrison or Thomas Howard were first round picks. I don't think they were at all. I guess Roquan McLean, is that his name? I think he was the last first round linebacker. I mean, he was not good at all. Um, I don't know, man. Like, I don't even know if we've taken a highly picked linebacker. Like, I mean, I guess a third round pick's pretty high. We took Divine Diablo, but that was like a Gus Bradley scheme specific player. The Raiders should have traded Divine Diablo to the Colts and see if they would have given us like a third or a fourth round pick. Not saying he's a bad player, but I just don't think he fits the scheme. And I think our linebackers kind of suck, to be honest. The Raiders don't have good linebackers. Even Denzel Perryman, I got killed for this take, man. Denzel Perryman, I don't want to say he's garbage because he's not garbage. That would be the wrong word. He's just not that good, though. He got so overrated because of his Pro Bowl. The guy can't even play 3 downs, right? And, you know, obviously I try not to put out negative film breakdowns, but there's a lot of really, really, really bad plays that Denzel Perryman has on tape. Him just missing tackles, him not being in coverage. I think the Raiders need to get a really good linebacker. I wouldn't be mad with I said Roquan McLean. I don't know what that was thinking. Rolando McLean. But Roquan Smith would be a guy that I would target if I was the Raiders. He's actually a really good linebacker. Bassett, Sanji, or the paper champs again. It seems like that's been what the Raiders kind of have been, right, for a while now. We've been paper champions, right? But I would argue that we're paper champions last year too, and we made the playoffs, man. So, we'll see what ends up happening. I see a comment here. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. I may have missed it. It was talking about the quarterback from Tennessee and would I take him? I think that's the guy that's supposed to be the number one quarterback. I know people are saying it's CJ Stroud, and some people are saying it actually might not be Tennessee's quarterback, but there's another quarterback people are saying is going to go before CJ Stroud and before Bryce Young. All right, those are the two big name guys. And I don't think it's Levi's or Levy's, whatever, from Kentucky. I don't think it's him. It may be him, but I don't follow college quarterbacks like that. I'll start like offensive line stuff like that. So, but Moose said Carr made Aguilar good. Yeah, Nelson, I think he's a good player, but Derek Carr definitely helped his entire career. Same with Zay Jones, right? M. Nolan said your content is way better than any other Raider content on YouTube. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate it. It really depends, though, right? What type of content you guys want, right? If you guys want like conspiracy theories, there's those guys. If you guys want film, like just pure film, pure knowledge, Marcus Johnson does a great job with that. Ray the Tape does good things. Raider Honcho does good things. If you guys want like live content, Graphic does a lot of good things as well. I think it really just depends on the type of content you want. There's some good YouTubers out there for Raider specific stuff, but I do appreciate that, Nolan, for reals. Again, it's really just what you guys want, right? Bass said second place is just the first loser in football. That's an interesting way to kind of think about it. Aunt Six Soldier said, Sanjeet, thoughts on the Raiders rookie defensive tackles? I had way more hopes for Matthew Butler. I thought he was going to be the better player because in college, he was a really good pass rusher. EJ Snyder, I don't know if you guys know who that is. He does the content with Brett Coleman. The second Matthew Butler got drafted, he DM'd me. He's like, hey, man, you're going to really like Matthew Butler. And I hadn't watched his tape at all, right? I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not going to watch some random defensive tackle. That, too, I was kind of backed up with college film for this past year, but when I watched him, I thought, wow, this guy looks really good. I don't know how Neil Farrell went with the fourth round pick, and Butler went with the fifth round pick, but the complete opposite is true right now. I think Neil Farrell has had more success. Butler hasn't really played a whole lot, but I do think that he's going to get better. Obviously, he needs to kind of continue to develop. He is a lot older than a lot of defensive or a lot of players in general. I think Butler's like 25. Don't quote me on that, but he's like a fifth-year senior. So I think our rookie defensive tackles are going to be okay. But I don't think any of these guys are going to turn into like superstars, right? I think if you want a top-tier defensive tackle, I think you got to draft one in the first 2 rounds. The best defensive tackles, DeForest Buckner, Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, Quinnen Williams, Christian Barmore. They're all top 2 round pick guys, right? Like, rarely will you ever see a guy not get in the top 2 rounds and be really good. But yeah, I think they'll be okay. We'll see what ends up happening. I think they need to continue to develop, of course. Um, Ray Bosby says Sanjeet or Sanity. I don't know if you're saying Sanity or Sanjeet. With your offense line experience, do you think Ziegler and McDaniels are sleeping on making a right tackle trade and a D tackle move before October 31st? I think the right tackle is fine, to be 100% honest, you guys. I think the Raiders' right tackle is good. And rather it's Jermaine Illuminor, rather it's Darren Munford, I think we're fine. I will say this. Right now, I think Jermaine Illuminor should be the first guy to get the opportunity. We should stop rotating, let Illuminor start, and let him go up against Cameron Jordan one-on-one. Just let it be. If he gets his ass kicked, you make the move to Darren Munford, and then you stick with Darren Munford for the rest of the season. If you start Munford and he sucks or he gets beat up right by Cameron Jordan, then you're going to go back to Illuminor. Now you're going to be going back and forth, right? I think you let the veteran in Illuminor start, and you let him lose that position. Once he loses it, then you let Munford start the rest of the year, and then at the end of the year, I think that's when you make that decision. Should the Raiders, is Munford the guy, or should we draft the guy, right? I've been posting a little bit on Reddit every now and then, and we talked a little bit about Munford on the Reddit. One of the things was people were saying he was a first-round pick. He should have won in the first round if he just came out the year before. And I think that narrative, I don't know who started it, but that narrative is so false. Darren Munford was not ever a first-round pick, ever. It was never going to happen. Could he have went in the 3rd round? Maybe. But he was not a first-round pick. There's no way a guy is a first-round pick 1 year and then he falls to the 7th the year after. Doesn't make sense. But I do appreciate the question. It's a really good question. In terms of a defensive tackle, I think the Raiders should absolutely make that move for a defensive tackle. Last year they were saying Quinnen Williams may have been available for a first-round pick. I think the Raiders should have done it. DeForest Buckner may be available right now. They're on Payne. With Payne, I'd be a little bit hesitant because I don't know what type of pass rush he provides. And I think if the Raiders are going to get a defensive tackle, you want a pass rusher. Like, how dominant was it when we had Richard Seymour and Tommy Kelly as their 2 defensive tackles? Maybe not against the run, but against the pass, man, these guys are top tier. And I apologize, man. My throat's kind of hurting right now. But back then, man, we had Richard Seymour and Tommy Kelly. We're legit on the inside. Giz said this dude looks high as fuck. I am not high, man. My allergies are killing me, and I have my contacts in. Throat hurts. But shout out to you anyways, man. I do appreciate the comment. Nick said, I don't know, I agree with you. 99% of the time, we usually have a shout out in these kind of games that aren't supposed to be, but I feel different this time. I feel the D is going to shut them down and perform. I hope, man. I really, 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 really hope. I think the Raiders defense is definitely going to step up. I don't know if this is the week to do it or if it's going to be the week after. I shouldn't say to do it, when it's going to happen. It's going to happen one of these days, right? I hope this is the week because this is a must-win game. And I know I always say that. I know some people don't like it, but this is definitely a must-win game, right? If we're going to make the playoffs for 2-4, 2-5, and that's like, you're almost at the playoffs at that point, right? Not officially, but I think you got to win 3-4. That too, like, I think I was looking at the playoff picture. I think like the 6th place team right now on the AFC side, I think they're 3-4. So if you win, you could possibly jump up to the 6th spot, right? You're in the playoffs if you win, and a couple teams lose, right? So for the Raiders, we're right there, man. We're absolutely right there. Shout out to you, Anthony. You said Raiders definitely going to get that win tomorrow. You said, I hope Waller shines tomorrow. I hope so too, man. I see a lot of you guys correct me. Obviously, I'm a little behind here. I see these comments are from 10 minutes ago. Definitely Rolando. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Rolando McClain. That was definitely the last linebacker the Raiders took. Uh, Mr. Marty said, I hope the Saints' throat hurts like yours after we run Josh Jacobs. Do it. Kamara, Raiders. I hope we win, man. I really, 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 really hope we do win. I do see some people saying Graphic is trash. I talked to Graphic. I think he's a solid person, man. I don't know why some people may not like him, but I think he's a really solid, and I'm saying solid person as in like I speak to him. He's a solid person in that aspect. I watched some of his live stuff. I think he does a good job. You know, in my opinion, you can never have too many content creators. You can never have too many guys making content. I think Graphic does a really good job and is different, right? He goes live a lot, and I don't go live that often, but I think going live is definitely the way. And I think he's legit, man. I think he's definitely legit. Boogie here says Beast Rider and your boy Q starting to get into the YouTube game. They're legit sources. They absolutely are. They're both. I believe your boy Q is a beat writer as well. Don't quote me on that. I know obviously Beast Rider is. He's a good dude. Um, I think your boy Q is as well. But yeah, they're definitely legit. They're obviously at practice. It's different. Sometimes people confuse me as a beat writer, which I don't know how the hell you can confuse that. I never have been to a Raiders practice. Um, but these guys are actually there. They're actually putting the work in, right? They're putting the effort into it, being there. Um, and that's not me. I'm not a beat writer, but those guys are definitely legit. Shout out to them for getting into the YouTube game. Um, I tell anybody this, man. Get into YouTube, man. It's such a solid side hustle. At the very least, if you guys don't care about like saying, I want to get professional, I want to get into it. You guys can post the stupidest shit and you will make money because there's always people willing to watch, right? Get into crypto, into Raiders, into the Kings, right? Don't do the Kings. But if you guys are like Laker fans, right? I tell my friends and cousins who are Laker fans, make content with the Lakers. You get 100,000 subscribers within like a year, right? Or maybe not 100,000, but if you guys are interested into it, you guys can hit me up on Twitter and I'll help you guys out getting into it, how to make thumbnails, what to do, all that stuff. Um, but it's a good side hustle. Anthony said, shout out to Mikey Raider, the original Raiders YouTuber. Big shout out to Mikey, man. Mikey's legit, man. When I first started making content, he was the guy that like everyone would go to. He's actually one of the reasons why I started making content as well. So shout out to Mikey Raider, definitely the OG. He's definitely the one that I started watching for sure. I see some people are fighting. Some people are saying some content creator is trash. Others are saying he's legit. I think he's legit, man. Obviously, everyone's going to have their own opinion. Todd said we need difference makers on the defense. I agree. You got to have difference makers on the defense. If the Raiders can't get guys to make plays on the defensive side, you're not ever going to have success no matter what. It's just not possible. You got to have guys to make plays. Isaiah Simmons had a pick six last week. Another guy had a pick six for the Cardinals defense. They put up 40 plus points because of those two pick sixes, and they won because of that. At the same time, the Raiders have 2 wins, and it's because we've had 1 pick six and 1 fumble six. I know that's not the only thing that won us the game, right? Obviously, the offense did their part, but how much better did it feel being up by 2 possessions instead of just 1, right? Makes a big, big difference. Joe, I think this defense sucks. I said it earlier. I think this defense needs to get better, but you can always use the excuse, and you're not going to be wrong if you say it. When you only have $50 million invested on the defense, and this is next year's cap, right? Long-term investments. You only have 50 million on that side, and you have 108 million on the offense. One has a lot more cap than the other one. That unit's going to be better. But the defense still has Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. I think they need to add a couple more pieces. And I think we should be solid as well. I'm seeing a lot of your guys' comments. Shout out to all you guys, man. Someone said a comment here. Gabe says, shout out from Chico, the actual Northern California. I'm from Yuba City, man. So I'm like 30 miles south of Chico. But I went to school in Chico. If you guys don't know this, Mark Davis also went to school in Chico. He went to Chico State. I went to Chico State. Aaron Rodgers is from Chico. He went to be college, obviously. But shout out to you, Gabe, man, for reals. Rich said, shout out from Eureka, the real actual north. That's even further. That's like way north. That's like way, way, way north. But shout out to all of you guys, man. For reals. I appreciate all you guys that are here. Earl said the Saints don't have an offense and their defense is not what it was yesterday. That may be true, man. That may be true. You know, it's interesting because the Saints average 17 points per game with Jameis Winston, which is, I think, one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Both Andy Dalton, they average 33 or 36. So somewhere in that, which is one of the best offenses in the NFL. So with Andy Dalton, this offense plays much better. So just keep that in mind, right? There's a difference. I know the points per game stats, the offensive stats, include stats with both of those guys as the quarterbacks. But this is the Andy Dalton-led offense, right? And that specific portion averages over 30 points a game. That's what we're playing, right? So it's going to be interesting, man. Tomorrow's game is definitely going to be interesting. Hopefully they can step up. You got to get it done, man. You got to get a win tomorrow. It's the biggest game of the season. Biggest game of this season, right? I guess last year was the playoff game, but Earl said Raiders film is my guy. Shout out to Carl, man. Carl's a really, really, really solid dude. Definitely puts out good content. Nick said Locked On Raiders is also done by Q. I believe that is correct. I see a lot of you guys comments. Nick said Mikey doesn't know what he's talking about 75% of the time. You know, that's the thing though, you know. It doesn't matter, right? Like in my opinion, this is my personal opinion. Knowing what you're talking about versus not knowing what you're talking about isn't a big deal, right? Mikey has a really solid personality. He's definitely funny as hell, man. That guy's super funny. But you know, you can do different things and have success, right? And make good content, I should say, right? Not have success, but a lot of us, man, are you know, I'll talk sometimes NBA stuff with people, right? Like on Twitter or whatever, and I don't even watch basketball anymore, right? But as long as you can talk and you kind of know what you're talking about, I don't think it's a big deal, man. I think Mikey's a legit dude. Boogie said, I just remember Mikey being on Salute Your Shorts on Nickelodeon back in the days. A lot of people don't know that, man. A lot of people don't know that. Mikey Raider was I don't know what's the correct term. I don't know if it's like child actor. I think that's what it would be. Although I never watched Salute Your Shorts. I was born in 93. And I think that show ran in like, obviously I was too young anyways, but I think it ran around that time anyways. But Todd said, yeah, our D made Texans look like a good offense. That's the thing. Defense has to step up, man. No more excuses. You got to be better. Raider Dad said, no doubt we need to invest more in the defense, hoping a few of those high dollar offensive players will restructure for the sake of defense. That's a good point. I don't know who's going to restructure, but I do think we should take some of the cap of the offensive guys and push it into future years and invest it on the defense. Like, how legit would it have been if the Raiders traded for DeForest Buckner? You know, we trade one first round pick for DeForest Buckner. We trade a second round pick, and we get Jesse Bates. And now on our defense, we have DeForest Buckner and Jesse Bates. How much better would we be, right? I think the Raiders need to make that investment, man. They really, really, really do. Nick said, shout out from the true north, the stronghold of NorCal, Redding, California. Shout out to you, man, for reals. I've never been that far, although it's not that far from Yuba City. It's probably like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Just a little north of Chico. But shout out to you, man. I really do appreciate it. Divine Diablo, man. Hopefully he steps up tomorrow. Beast Mode said, what do you think about Kadarius Toney to the Chiefs? All right, so I think Kadarius Toney's the real deal. I remember when he got drafted, I think I was live with Raid the Tape. Shout out to my brother, Raid the Tape. And he said something about Kadarius Toney, like, hey, what do you think about this pick? And I remember telling him that I think this guy is going to be really good in the NFL. Obviously, that has not worked out. And you can say maybe that's because he just hasn't been a good football player. And maybe he'll never be a good football player, but I think he has all the ability in the world to be a really, 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 really good player. And I think with the Chiefs, any player that's good goes to the Chiefs, they're going to become great, right? Because the Chiefs just do good things, right? For the Chiefs, I love the move. I think it makes you that much better. Um, when the 49ers went out and got Christian McCaffrey, all the top teams started saying, well, we need to go match that. The Niners just got one of the best offensive players. Well, the Chiefs went out and got Kadarius Toney. I think the potential's massive. And it's low risk as well. And someone's going to go out and trade for Alvin Kamara. I think it's going to be the Eagles. Apparently, they've offered their first round pick to the Saints. But even the Rams could potentially get in on that, right? The Rams are trying to trade away Cam Akers. Maybe they go all in on Alvin Kamara. Someone's going to go in on him, right? And I think that's what all the good teams are doing, right? They're going out and getting the top superstars that are available for trade. That's how you win, man. That's how you win a Super Bowl. I like the move, man. I really, really do. I think the cap is going up, Todd. He's saying, is the cap going up next year? I think it is. I do think, though, that at some point it has to stop going up, right? Like, how does the cap space always just continuously go up? Like, at some point, don't you run out of people, like, to advertise to? Or, like, that's kind of weird. But Carlos said, Sanji, I watched the former players ask Max Crosby about DC. So what do you think about different coaches? I'm assuming you mean about the defensive coordinator, not Derek Carr. I think the Raiders should just stick with Patrick Graham, right? I think Patrick Graham is the guy you have to stick with right now because he's the guy that you've started the build with, right? You got Chandler Jones because of Patrick Graham, Rocky Sin because of Patrick Graham. I think he's the guy you have to stick with at this point, right? Relly Bow Gaming said we need to trade for a top cornerback. I agree. Let's trade a first round pick for whoever it is, right? Whoever's available. Trade a first round pick from. Raider Ray said, Raider Ray, Pharaoh, NFL, Raid the Tape, Sanjit T. Would love to give Raider Nation a show strictly on Raiders football. It could be a great show. Much love, Sanji. Appreciate your work, Raider Ray. Shout out to you, man. I really appreciate it. As you guys can tell, I'm struggling over here. I'm going to end the live video here. I really enjoyed this one. Enjoyed it way more than any of the other ones because we kind of just sat back and talked and just kind of talked about random stuff. But I think I'm going to be doing this more often. I think on Saturdays for sure we'll do shows like this. We just sit back, chill. Nothing too crazy, just kind of talk. And I definitely want to go live more often. I'm really trying to figure it out, but I think 2 times a week for sure I'll be going live. Just got to figure out the times that work with like Pacific Standard, East Coast, and Central Time. So shout out to all you guys, man. Go to sleep because when you guys wake up, man, we got Raiders football. So shout out to all of you guys, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the game tomorrow. I'll be on Twitter, man, and I might do one of those Twitter live things. So shout out to you guys, man. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be live again tomorrow. So shout out to you.